Hello and welcome to another Stay Wild at Home adventure with Wild Things. Unfortunately today's the last episode in our season, but we hope you've enjoyed them. I'm out here today with the team again.
Hello, I'm Ellie.
I'm Jack. Hi, and I'm Paul, and today we're going to be talking about the seasons and the natural calendar.
As spring follows the winter season, the number of daylight hours again outnumber the hours of darkness. Temperatures start to rise as the land receives greater amounts of sunlight for longer. Nature is full of new colours, shapes and sounds, and joyful signs of new and emerging life are everywhere, making spring a season of dramatic changes for both plants and animals. As the soil warms, dormant seeds are encouraged to germinate and grow into plants, and dormant perennial plants' roots and bulbs start to sprout new growth. Over the winter, deciduous trees have stored food in the form of sugary sap in their roots. In spring, this sap rises up the many tiny tubes of sapwood in the tree trunk to unfurl new leaves which have been tightly packed in their buds since last summer. Most flowering plants and trees will also produce flowers and blossoms during spring, which then have the summer months to grow into seed-bearing fruits, nuts and seed pods, ensuring another generation of that plant. The increasing day length is also important to many animals, allowing them more time to find food, whilst at the same time expending less energy keeping warm compared to winter time. Some animals have of course avoided the cold of winter altogether, by hibernating or by migrating to warmer climes. Nevertheless, a hedgehog emerging from hibernation in the spring will immediately have to replenish its fat reserves run down during hibernation. And similarly, birds arriving in spring after long, dangerous and physically demanding migrations will need to find plentiful food supplies, both for themselves and for their offspring born later in springtime. Luckily for these animals, many invertebrates also emerge from hibernation in spring, or caterpillars and other larvae hatch as the ambient temperature increases, and many birds time the hatchings of their eggs to the peak in caterpillar availability. The dangers of man-made climate change can affect this delicate ecological seasonal balance, whereby, for example, caterpillar hatchings may start to happen earlier and earlier in spring, as they emerge when the temperature is right, whereas many migratory birds base the timings of their journey on lengthening daylight hours, which remain constant year on year. So, if we don't do something to reduce the effects of climate change soon, we may find that in the future some birds arriving in this country in spring to raise their young have missed the peak in food availability.
Summer is arguably the best time of year for plants and animals, including holiday-making humans. In northern or southern latitudes, the longer length of day and warmer climate allows plants and flowers to flourish. Due to the high levels of sunlight, summer creates perfect conditions for photosynthesis. This is good news for plants and trees, many of which will produce the majority of their energy during the summer months. For trees, the sugars created at this time of year will be drawn down into the roots over winter, where it will be stored in order to provide the energy needed to bud and blossom in the following spring. Animals in the summer period are usually at the peak of their activity. Many will hunt and reproduce during this time, and the warmer weather and shorter nights mean that there is even more time available to them to forage and hunt. At the same time, this warmer weather also means that animals will expend less energy staying warm. Just as trees create sugars at this time of year to get them through the long winter months, many animals rely on summer to lay down essential fat reserves for the very same reason. In the end of summer, birds start to grow new feathers. This will help them to feel more comfortable and warm in the winter. At this time of year also, baby birds are beginning to leave their nest. Many will spend a few days on the ground before they're ready to take flight, building their strength and waiting for their flight feathers to fully grow. Summer is the best time of year to see bats, which give birth in June. The summer months become their busiest time of year as they hunt for insects in order to provide food for their young families. Whether you're a bird, a mammal or a plant, the abundance of warmth, food and sunlight makes summer one of the most plentiful times of year and an important opportunity to build up reserves of energy that will carry them through the leaner months ahead.
Autumn is a vibrant time of year and a period of huge change for all of the plants and animals. Many trees and bushes produce fruits and nuts at the beginning of autumn, perfectly timed for the foraging animals as they try to fatten up for winter. The fruits, nuts and seeds fall and the deciduous trees lose their leaves, first producing a colourful display of reds, oranges, yellows and browns. Many plants die off in autumn, some due to return next year from the reserves stored in their roots, whilst other species will grow afresh from seed. The fungus kingdom springs into action to consume the fallen leaves and recycle the nutrients back into the ecosystem. Birds and mammals prepare for the colder months to come by building insulated homes, making the most of lichen, moss and earth. Those animals which hibernate, like hedgehogs, or migrate, like many birds, for winter, are hurriedly running around trying to eat as much fatty foods as they can, whilst others build up their winter stores, such as red squirrels burying acorns. Many flying insects will die off in autumn, having already successfully mated and reproduced. Their young might still be larvae or pupa at this stage, waiting until warmer weather returns before taking flight. Social insects, such as ants, bees and wasps, will be building up stores and halting colony expansion. As the weather cools, the colony will come together to protect and insulate their queen with their bodies. Many will die off, but hopefully few will survive until spring to start afresh.
Autumn is the time of year when all of the broadleaf trees lose their leaves, the fruits fall off the trees, and some of the insects actually die off for the winter. Because of that, there's lots of things for mushrooms to eat. So at this time of year we find a bloom of fungi. Now this is the mushroom and it's basically the fruit of the fungus itself. So the fungus is around all year round, but it's actually underneath the ground. So you can just about make out these kind of roots. They're called mycelium, and that forms a network all over the forest floor. And what happens in autumn is we just get the little fruit on the top, just like an apple on a tree. So the network of the fungi connects all of the trees that are in this woodland, and it helps the trees to absorb water and nutrients from the soil. And it's a symbiotic relationship that helps the fungi and helps the trees. So in that way the entire wood is actually connected through these fungus.
So here we are at Findhorn Bay, and we've come to Findhorn Bay to talk about migration. Migration is something that happens across the world in the spring and the autumn. We're familiar with lots of birds doing it, but all sorts of other animals do it as well, from whales to wildebeest. We're probably familiar with birds like little swallows coming to us in the spring. They make their nests, they lay their eggs, they raise their chicks over the summer, and then in the autumn they disappear again, flying all the way back to southern Africa. But at the same time we have also got birds which have spent the summer even further north than that, so places like Iceland and Greenland and Norway, where they've raised their chicks, and they're coming to us for the winter because we are just that bit warmer than places like Greenland. So out here on Findhorn Bay in the winter we have a huge influx of different birds, especially geese. There's some 20,000 pink-footed geese that come here, as well as some other geese species. Lots of wader birds come here to spend the winter as well, and it's a really good place for them to find lots of food, lots of mud here with lots of worms and things like that in it, and the geese also can use this as a safe roosting place overnight, and then heading out into the neighbouring fields during the daytime. These birds undertake these huge, great journeys to migrate. So while some birds come to us from African countries, and some birds are coming to us from Greenland, there are some birds, like for example the Arctic tern comes past our Scottish coasts every year. It's flying all the way from the Arctic Circle to the Antarctic Circle and back again every year. It's a huge journey for them to make. There's other birds, like out here we have some bar-tailed godwits, which are kind of medium-sized brown wader birds. Again, they undertake huge, great journeys, and the bird that kind of holds the record for the longest long-haul flight is the bar-tailed godwit, which with a satellite tracker they tracked flying non-stop for about 11 days from Alaska all the way to the North Island of New Zealand. So they covered some 7,500 miles. So migration is this incredible journey that lots of animals undertake to make the best use of particular seasons in particular parts of the world.
As the
temperature drops at this time of year, our local wildlife has different methods of seeing out the bad weather and scarcity of food. Red squirrels store as much food as they can to last them through the tough winter months and use their amazing memories to return to their stores. They also develop a thick winter coat and spruce up their cosy nests called drays with moss, lichen and fur to help them see out those long winter nights. Bats and hedgehogs take this a step further by hibernating through the winter months. They spend the summer months eating as much as they can to store lots of fat and energy, and in the winter they enter a mode of sleep that reduces their internal temperature and slows down their heart rate. This allows them to save huge amounts of energy. Bats slow their heart rate to just 4 beats a minute, which is pretty impressive considering that their heart rate can be over 1,000 beats a minute while flying. Hedgehogs fatten up on a mixed diet which consists mainly of invertebrates and enter hibernation around November. They can build their nests, called hibernacula, under hedges, inside compost heaps and even underneath garden sheds. They insulate them with old grass and dry leaves, so it is a great idea to leave some garden debris lying around to help them create a cosy home.
Well, it's a bright and frosty morning today here in Findhorn, and I've just taken a moment to come out to discuss the last activity of our Stay Wild at Home activity packs for care homes. We've had so much fun making them, and we really hope you have too. And the last activity we've got for you in the season is making calendars for 2021, and there's lots of different things that you can do with them. So you'll have all received a blank calendar for 2021 with your Stay Wild at Home activity packs this week, and there's so much you can do with them. As you can see, we've put a front cover on here which is a nice big image, and there's so much you could do. You could use photography, or you could draw a picture, you could use the watercolours that we've provided in a previous pack, or perhaps use the colouring pencils that we're sending you this week alongside your calendar. So we hope that by this point you should each have enough different materials, including your nature diary, to be able to do a wide variety of different nature-based arts and crafts to fill your calendar up, turn it into the perfect gift for your friends and family, or perhaps you would like to keep it for yourself and put it up on your wall and use it to track the seasons next year. We've left December blank. I think I'm going to put a robin here. But here you get a sense of what you can do with the calendar, and like I said before, it makes a wonderful gift for a friends or family, and you can stick it up in your room and use it to track the seasons and to remember some of the things that you've experienced whilst you've been out in your gardens or looking out your window, and to remind you of the many beautiful things that happen in nature, the ever-changing cycle of nature, and we really hope that you continue to do creative, artistic activities and continue to learn about the natural world around you. Well, that's about it from us this week at Wild Things. We hope you've enjoyed the activities. We've had a wonderful time making them.
Enjoy getting stuck into your natural calendars over the coming months. Please do send us some pictures of all the creations you've been coming up with over the last couple of months.
We hope you've been inspired by the programme, and that you continue to get out having fun, engaging with nature.
Until next time, stay wild at home.